November 7th, still, and this is the third session of what I discovered in October. So, I had mentioned that as I'm discovering eudaimonia, right, I'm still trying to find smoother ways to practice it, smoother and more efficient ways to practice it, right? And so I'm trying to, I find myself more typically stuck on level 2 of practicality. Okay, so there's level 1, there's instinct. Level 0, there's instinct. Level 1, there's unknown protocol. Level 2 is essence of practicality. And level 3 is eudaimonia, and that's where I'm trying to get to, right? And so as I'm trying to think about this, it's like, okay, what in essence of practicality made me first crave eudaimonia? So I'm trying to look back at my experience. It's analyzing experience in between. So I'm thinking back at my memory. And it's like, okay, so what first gave me the hint that something like eudaimonia was supposed to exist in the first place? So, yeah, so what gave in the first place? And so as I'm analyzing this, I'm analyzing myself in essence of practicality. So I'm getting into that mode, I'm getting into that state, and I'm like, okay, what led me to eudaimonia? And one of the things that led me to that is that as I'm achieving goals through essence of practicality, right? So I'm in level 2. And I'm using essence of practicality, and I'm using my imagination and whatnot, and I'm achieving goals, and I'm getting what I want, right? But I feel like there's a lingering dissatisfaction. So there's a lingering dissatisfaction. And it's that lingering dissatisfaction that makes me wonder, like, hey, I'm getting whatever I want, but there's something else, there's something deeper, and I'm kind of becoming more sensitive to this subtler desire, right? And this subtler desire is what I'm trying to figure out how to satisfy, right? So that's one way. That's one way to get from level 2 to level 3. Get what you want, yes. But practice awareness so that you can notice that subtle dissatisfaction, that lingering dissatisfaction that you always have. Even if you get whatever you want in life, there's still that lingering dissatisfaction that haunts you. And that will lead you to seek eudaimonia, right? And then you use essence of practicality on that lingering dissatisfaction to discover eudaimonia. By using essence on that lingering dissatisfaction, you decide to pay attention to that and say, okay, I have this thing. I'm no longer going to run away from it. I'm going to make the decision, and that's when you start coming up with, ways to kind of turn that around. And you start realizing, you start learning that pain is a decision. Pain is a decision. And you start looking into ways that you could undo that decision. And once you achieve that, that's when you achieve eudaimonia. So, that's one of the things that I discovered in October, right? And I already explained that in the last video. Let's see if there's anything else in my notes that I'm missing to explain. You start realizing, as you start analyzing that the pain, you have it there not because you want something, not because you need to obtain something, but because there's a disagreement inside yourself. There's pain, the sensation is an indication of a disagreement within yourself that you need to sort out. When you chase something, when you achieve a goal, when you chase something and you get it, it kind of like assuages that desire. It numbs that desire. But it only functions as covering up that brokenness. But in the end, that lingering desire, that lingering pain is still there because you're still broken. So, the other thing, number 2. So again, this happened on a night in October where I'm just kind of like focusing, right? I'm focusing on myself and I'm analyzing, I'm doing, introspection, and I notice that I'm like just dissatisfied. There's a lingering dissatisfaction, right? And it just doesn't matter what I do, it just feels wrong. Like it feels like I'm not complete. It feels like I need to do something else. But it doesn't matter what I choose, I always end up regretting it. That's the other thing, right? So as I'm doing this, as I'm experiencing this, I notice that I want something, and if I achieve it, I regret it. And if I don't do it, I regret it, right? So then I notice, okay, it doesn't matter what I do, it's always wrong. And so it's like, so I'm like trying to figure it out. It's like, so what does this mean? What, And so I guess at that point I use exhaustive options to kind of think of different ways to explain it, to explain what I'm experiencing here. And I'm like, okay, what if when I do something, it's not that I regret it because I didn't actually want to do it, but I regret it simply because I have the habit of interpreting things as bad. So it doesn't matter what I do, it will always be the wrong choice just because I'm deeming it bad. And so it's kind of like I'm in this mode where I'm just like interpreting things as being against me. And I have this habit. So that mode, I call it chasing desire mode. Chasing desire mode. And that is the second explanation of what I got when I was trying to analyze how to get from essence of practicality to eudaimonia. When you're in chasing desire mode, right, you always feel a need when you're in chasing desire mode. And even when you achieve that desire, when you get to the goal, you will still feel a need because you're still in chasing desire mode. Maybe you numb it for a while with endorphins, maybe with a high, but you're still in that mode. And so this is what I wrote on October 15th. When one is in chasing desire mode, every choice they make, regardless if it's to or fro, constitutes as chasing desire. So if you're thinking, okay, if you're in 2 and you haven't reached eudaimonia and you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to chase desires, I'm not going to chase desires, I'm not going to chase desires. But you saying that to yourself and you having that goal, you're chasing the desire to not chase this desire, right? And it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter if you move forward, you're chasing the desire. And if you decide to stop, you're chasing the desire. And it doesn't matter if you look left or right, you're chasing the desire. Why? Because you have that habit. It's not because you're actually chasing the desire, it's because you simply have the habit of interpreting every action that you do as chasing the desire. So you're always responding, you always feel like you're responding to a need even if you're not, just because you're interpreting the situation as if you were responding to a need. So this is what I write. One must first get out of this mode in order for their action to be considered free from force. Because as long as you're in that chasing desire mode, you will always feel force. It doesn't matter what you do, you will feel like you were forced to do it because you were interpreting your action as being forced to do it. And just to kind of give a side note, this is the reason why I'm so tired of this, why I'm so tired of being in this mode, is because I feel like I'm being forced. I don't feel free. I feel like I'm being forced by my own desires to do stuff, right? By my own cravings, by my own instincts. I feel forced to do things. And so this is why I started looking into this, because I'm just tired. I'm just tired of feeling that like I'm trapped, like I'm chained to my own desires, to my own temptations, to my own inclinations. So therefore, chasing desire mode is a problem not of habit of action, so it has nothing to do with action, but it is a problem of habit of interpretation, because it is the interpretation that makes you believe that what you are doing, whether left or right, is chasing a desire. When you are running, your habits of interpretation make you believe that you are running away and makes you feel less worth. It makes and because you're running away, it makes you feel worthless. It makes you feel desperate, and it makes you feel like you have no control. That's anti-volition. That interpretation is anti-volition. When you are resting, so when you're running, you feel that. It makes you feel like you're running away. And when you are resting, the voice in your head again interprets your choice as an avoidance of a phenomena. So when you're resting, it makes you interpret. You're reinforcing the idea that there is a force in the universe that taunts and torments you. Therefore, the next step is to step back from lower level making choices and so to step back from those choices that you make because you're trying to not act on this. So step back on it and confront, and instead of focusing on doing something that's not chasing a desire, look at your interpretive habit. Confront your interpretive habit and say, well, what is chasing a desire anyway? What does that mean? So that was October 15th. And October 30th, I guess this would be last week. I'm still battling with that. Even though I already experienced a way out, I already experienced eudaimonia at this point. But I'm still battling with it because I haven't yet figured out how to make this more smoothly. So on October 30th, I write, this is what I'm experiencing. When demons tug at your soul, everything you do is wrong. So that's another example of chasing desire mode. Because it doesn't matter what you do, your interpretive habit makes you think that it's wrong. So when demons tug at your soul, everything you do is wrong. This is contrasted from eudaimonia, or wholesome action, where everything you do is right. The wrongness is in the deeming, it's in the interpretation, not in the action. The step that is meant to confront this problem is currently being developed in the new model of private conflict. Okay, so right now I'm just explaining that I'm trying to develop it in level 3. So then I ask, what causes this negative feeling? What causes the problem? Well, when you're in chasing desire mode, the pain that you are experiencing because it takes over your attention makes it seem like the cause of it. So right now I'm listening to an audiobook called Persuasion, and it talks about cause, like you have a cause and effect, right? And your attention, what you see as a cause of something depends on what you're paying attention to, right? So crude example, this example is not in the book, and I don't know how appropriate it would be for what the book talks about. But a crude example would be, if you're focusing on a rat, or let's say, if you're focusing on a rat running on a wheel, right? And you're focusing on that, and as you're focusing on that, there's an explosion that happens like miles away because you were focusing so intently on that. You start looking at that rat and you start saying, that rat caused that explosion because you were paying so much attention to it. That example is too crude. More realistic example. Here's a real example. A black cat crosses your path. And because of what you've heard and all the superstitions and the stories that people tell you, you believe that now you have bad luck, and that stays in your mind. You're focusing on that. And now everything bad that happens throughout the day, you associate it with the black cat. Why? Because your attention is on it. So that black cat is now the cause of everything bad that happens throughout the day. Not because there's any logical connection, but because that's where your attention is. If there's a war somewhere in the world, and you're paying, and at that time you're paying attention to, to how the president is given a lecture, to how the president is given a speech, and what he says about this country and whatnot, because you're paying so much attention to it, you figure that what you're paying attention to is the cause of everything that's happening. This is why presidents are usually blamed for everything that happens in the country, even if they have nothing to do with it. But because they're the person in power, they're the person that takes all the attention. Whatever happens during their presidency is attributed as if it was caused by them, not because they had any logical connection to it, but because the attention is focused on it. So kind of the same rule. When you're in chasing desire mode, you feel that negativity, you feel that sensation, you feel that resistance. And it doesn't matter what you do, it's always negative. It's always because you want to satisfy this. Even if you don't care, even if you don't, but because it's still there, you still see it as the cause. When you're in chasing desire mode, the pain that you're experiencing, because it takes over your attention, makes it seem like it causes everything. It causes all your movements. So you always feel like you're chasing a desire, even if you're not, because you always feel like you're trying to get rid of that pain, because your attention it takes over your attention. Whatever happens, whatever action you take will be attributed to that pain. When you are in a state of aversion, so aversion, that's asterisk AVERSION. When you're in a state of aversion or anti-eudaimonia, so here's a new concept. Any movement you do is a running away, a response to desperation. The way you stop responding in desperation is to dispel it by wearing that sensation, by embodying that sensation. Not by stopping, not by running away, not by stopping, but you have to confront it and wear it. So that's where I am right now. That was October 30th, and then last week, I guess maybe November 3rd, November 2nd, not even. Today's November 7th. Yeah, I think this is where I experienced it maybe, because today is Wednesday. It's probably November 1st. It was November 1st. Yeah, November 1st was when I was when I had all those phrases and when I experienced that sensation of, vibrations all over my body. It was amazing. Anyways, so that's what I'm developing right now. Better way to experience eudaimonia. And then after that, I am now adding on, because I have a lot of concave that I've been saving up in my project, that I haven't been attaching it, that I haven't been using it. Because, a lot of practical stuff that I've learned about like finances and dealing with people and psychology and influence and all that stuff that I haven't included in my project because I've been trying to figure this out. So I can take all of that stuff and add it to the fourth level that I mentioned before. Realm of narratives. But the point is that you shouldn't use concave if you're not performing eudaimonia. That's where I am right now. And that's everything that I discovered in October.